Hi, and welcome back to another episode here on Cap Tech. Today we're going to talk about FAQs. No, make that FA cruise on the topic of South Central Illinois and the Illinois River. This video is dedicated to the 85 Bears because it is the 85th video in our series. I'm joined this weekend by a buddy of mine who I shall conceal the identity of, but many of you shall guess. Wanted to take this buddy down to the Peoria riverfront via boat this weekend and document that for the channel. But when I asked my old man if he thought that was a good idea and wanted to join us, he kind of poo-pooed the idea because even though weather was fine by us, it was not very good in Peoria. So with that, we came up with the alternative video topic of talking about FAQs on South Central Illinois and the Illinois River. One question we get a lot on the channel is, what are the boundaries of this South Central Illinois? So I've listed them here and put South Ottawa in a giant blue dot. I would call Ottawa the capital of South Central Illinois, but that is a disputed fact. I would call the southern capital to be Nashville, Illinois, both considered wonderful places, you know. So that speaks to the geographic boundaries. I will not touch directly on the ethical boundaries of the area, so you don't have to be alarmed. Another question I get frequently on the channel is, Cap, take me through the various marinas and docks. So I used to dock here. It's a nice place known as Stokes Marina, kind of a campground. It's not expensive, but doesn't have a lot of services. Next, you see the Shoreline Club. You have to know somebody. I know a couple people, but neither one really seemed to want me over there either. So we're going to keep going. We're not going to go the other direction here out to Heritage Harbor because we're not millionaires from Chicago. So we'll keep going down this way. You see we're going a little out of town on the Illinois, giving you the overview, and you'll get to see it from the river itself here shortly. Right now we're getting close to Buffalo Rock. The next place we're going to get to is the Starved Rock Yacht Club, which is also a private club. You would have to work some hours in there and get approved and such, but seems like a fun group of people, and might be able to get in there if I sweet talked a few folks. But where we landed this year was a little further out at Starved Rock Marina, where they do have services, and you can leave your leave your boat in a little longer in marinas as well. But that kind of gives you a small overview of the various marinas, at least in the locks between Utica and Marseilles, Illinois. Another question I get a lot to the channel is, what makes a great boat dog? And what I'm going to tell you doesn't make a great boat dog, at least in my experience, was a hunting dog like a Greyhound or a Weimaraner. I love them, but they were just overly excited out there. So now I manage this by getting a large, fat, lazy sweet dog who doesn't seem to need to swim across the river every time we stop at an island. A Mastiff is a good breed for this. My next question came in from my Patreon page, and it was from Johnny Clean Shoes, who said, how would you have entertained without a boat? And to that I say, I would have went to the Bear's Den, got you a sandwich as big as your arm, and then took you to see some buffalo, and hopefully ran into the darn cheese lady somewhere. So it's not like I didn't have a frickin' backup plan. Scene Snark from Nashville, Illinois asks, tell me about the festivals, Cap. Okay, well, we got a Morel Mushroom Festival. We have a craft beer festival from like local brewers, and then we have a larger microbrew festival, and then we have Riverfest, which features bands over the years such as Eddie Money and Herman's Hermits, etc. So anyway, it is a plethora of festivals along the river. and you can Google what goes on outside our locks by looking at Peoria and such as well. But yeah, here we have the Wine Fest, which also has Lobster Fest added. All walkable to the river with plenty of docking usually. I say usually because there's been a few floods this year. So now, you asked, we had somebody submit, what's your most amazing river story? Well, I'm responsible for 3 lives out there. I pulled a couple older people out of the water. One time when I was actually out on Moni Moni doing a phone interview, they said they were going to buy me steak, but I never did see them again. They were just kind of floating. It was odd. Anyway, and then also I do believe I conceived a baby out there as well. So that would be 3 lives total if you wanted to count it that way. So those are my most amazing river stories. Next, from Picky Pete, we get the question, any errors and omissions you want to speak to from your previous videos? And I say yes. If I've ever said anything to annoy Angie, even if it was about something, you know, very minimal from 30 years, 20 years ago, yes, I'm absolutely sorry, Angie. I did not mean to do that. And then also, I left the Blue Room in New Minden off a list of top bars. I felt bad about that. And then also on my list of being almost famous, I forgot to mention one of my good buddies and great fans' cousin was on the Rams, Mr. Jeff Scanina. So that's like, you know, 2 degrees of separation from some NFL stuff there. So anyway, that's all I got on errors and corrections. I don't think everything's been perfect to date, but those are some things I wanted to cover. Next question. Additionally, in the Vegas video, the Mob Museum is up north, you know, by Fremont, not on the south end of town. So I was just given that last second correction. But other than that, you know, those are the only things I have regret about. So please enjoy this view for a second while my assistant queues up the next question. The next question comes in from the doctor in Radom, Illinois, and it says, is it true that you are unthrowable from a tube? And it turns out we tested this one extensively, and I am not unthrowable from a tube in general, just unthrowable from my own boat. Here we have another question from Twitter, from Chewy Pearl. What craziness happened this weekend while you were hosting your friend? Well, let me tell you. We went out to have dinner in Verona, Illinois, and he goes out to have a cigarette, and my wife goes out there to say hi to him, and, you know, talk to him for a second while he's having a cigarette. This girl comes up and, like, shows him her boobs, both of them, and then says some, I don't know, sexy stuff or something to the old lady, to my wife, and then moons both my friend from out of town and my wife at like 6 o'clock on a Thursday night. Like, who? I can't believe it happened. It's a wonderful thing. What a great conversation piece. I'm happy it happened to my friend while he was visiting, but that's the best story I got from this weekend as far as oddities that happened to him. Next, do river police bother folks? By Paranoid Peter. On the Illinois River and Fox, I would say, you know, if you use common sense, that they're not going to be too tough or harass you. However, on like Austin's Lake Travis or Arizona's Lake Havasu or Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri, they tend to be a little tougher because they know you're there to party. So just keep that in mind. The next question is from Johnny Vegas. How does river boating differ from lake boating? Well, on the lakes, you're not going to see any barges. You're going to have much deeper water at a lake here, like at a lake like this one, Lake Mead. And it's just kind of a whole different vibe. I don't know how to encapsulate that answer any better for you. But we like lakes too, such as Lake Carlisle and Wren Lake. Next question. How does South Central Illinois compare to other tourist traps? Well, it's no Grand Canyon, Mojave Bob, but we do have a lot of attractions, such as Mathiasen State Park, Buffalo Rock State Park, and Starved Rock State Park. some cute towns like Utica and Ottawa where you can get a good bite to eat. And then the river, of course. So, there's a lot to offer, and it's hard to hold yourself up compared to the one of the wonders of the world here. But let's not forget that could be worse. Anyway, next question. The next question came in from Quid in Shantytown, who said, "Hey, have you ever lived outside of South Central Illinois? You stinking moron, Cap?" To which I say, yes, I have. I have escaped to the south and lived in such beautiful places as Austin, Texas. My buddy currently lives out in Las Vegas, so although we do venture out of the area from time to time, South Central Illinois is the center of the universe and documented as Da Motherland. And from Austin, Texas, we have the Depth Finder asking, what's the furthest that you've ever traveled by boat? Well, the furthest I've traveled by boat would be almost to Peoria, to the south from the Ottawa area, which is, you don't have to go through as many marinas as going to Chicago, which must have been a dozen marinas, which I was able to do with a few friends of mine, a couple of which bailed along the way. It really turned into an adventure, and it did wind up in the boat fire that I cover in some previous videos. So that's the furthest I've gone. Thanks for asking. Now that we've caught up on your questions, we want the channel to be very interactive. We want to invite you to subscribe and to feel free to ask additional questions. Please feel free to share, comment, like I said, please comment and give us some other questions. Just one last beg to subscribe here. Thanks for watching. The end.